Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know wants to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get better off the ball, or you're an athlete wanting to improve your speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA Sports. Go visit DNASportsDenver.com now and sign up.
Yo.
What up, brother?
What up, man?
Back again, episode 9.
Episode 9. Go get your 9.
Another beautiful day.
It is nice outside, bro. It's not super hot yet, but I know it's getting there. But I know with the way it felt yesterday, It felt like fall's right around the corner, dude.
Yes, that's for sure.
Like we're about to get cool out here. I love it. That's my favorite time of the year.
Cool mornings, cool nights.
Oh, dude, football.
It's in the air.
And then you got hockey training camp starting, which is funny because they just ended. You got NBA training camps be starting at the end of September. Man, baseball's just starting to get into watchable baseball because it goes into the playoffs in October. It's a great time of the year, bro.
Great time for sports.
Dog days of summer, but dog days are coming to an end. You see a lot of these teams, they just finished up like training camp, and now they're getting into their official actual practices and whatnot.
Joint practices.
Yeah, dude, like it's a great time for sports, and it's a great time for football, and super stoked, man. I can't wait to get into our first games, and we've been practicing, and some of our athletes that we've coached previous stops along the way, they're getting into their first games and scrimmages, and it's awesome, man. I love this time of year. Yeah,
me too, for sure. And for speaking of practice, again, remember, go to DNASportsDenver.com, book a session. It's always going to make you better as an athlete, even during season. You have your spare time, instead of sitting around at home, doing nothing. If your body's feeling right and you're nurturing your body properly and treating yourself right, go ahead and book a session at DNASportsDenver.com.
I'm excited, man. I got one tomorrow. I'm supposed to have one tomorrow. I'm going to reach out and confirm that again. But got one tomorrow, speed and agility, with a young athlete that plays soccer that wants to get faster, wants to be able to compete a little bit better on the field. So
that's awesome.
Working out with him tomorrow, and this should be a good time. I know we've got a bunch of stuff coming up with just individual trainings you've been doing with defensive linemen. One that you said made the team, huh?
Oh yeah, he's got a starting job, defensive tackle. He's doing his thing, and he's been putting in hard work. But since we got together, I could already see the progression. But he has all the intangibles, the mechanics that you need to play the position, and he has the work ethic. So good for him, and we're going to continue to get better, and now we're going to work towards achieving his goals. And shortly you'll be able to see what his goals are on our social media platform or whatever, because we did film a little bio where I had him explain who he was and what school he goes to and what were his goals with this training. And we're definitely going to see a little bit of progression in his gameplay.
Well, I think that's it too. Like if you're listening, or somebody that you have an athlete that maybe is a cousin or relative or whatever, I think that's the important thing too. It's not just about. You stop working hard during everything else, right? Like This is just like sometimes it's cool to put. If you work hard, sometimes it's cool to put somebody else that coaches hard together with you so that you can kind of unlock different areas of your game that you haven't unlocked yet, or that maybe this coach is able to reach you in that area, whereas some others haven't. I definitely think it's a great opportunity, and I'm not just trying to sell the company because I would sell the hell out the company, but I think it's a great opportunity for parents, for athletes, just to get a leg up, man, a leg up on the competition. There's a lot of kids out there these days that are going out for soccer, going out for football, and it's good to have a little bit of a leg up. And if you can put some extra work in with some coaches that might have a different point of view than you have or than you've been given before, I think it's a great opportunity to do. And we encourage you guys to hit us up, DNASportsDenver.com, and sign up for a training. Reach out to us if you want to talk about like, hey, you know, I got a kid that wants to get faster. How can we do that? Can we put a plan together? We can do all that stuff, to make sure that your athlete is maximizing their potential.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, another great aspect, I think during this time, we're probably going to see a lot of more of our younger demographic booking sessions because they don't practice as frequently as the high school athletes do.
It's true.
However, for all those high school athletes out there, you know, I just want to remind everybody that we do have classroom sessions where we break down film and teach you how to break down your own film and grade yourself and, you know, continuously improve in the classroom when it comes to the football aspect of the game and, you know, talk X's and O's and some chalk talk and, you know, prepare yourself for that aspect of football because there will be a big portion of that, and film study is so important going forward in high school and in your collegiate career. So make sure you check us out at dnasportsdenver.com.
Always available for consultation, always coaching. You know, speaking of coaching, Dom, getting into our first topic today.
Man.
And we're going to, you know, we've got some other stuff to talk about, some awesome UFC fights last night.
Yeah.
We can dive into that too. But this first one, man, we missed it last week a little bit, you know, and I feel bad for missing it. But last week there was a youth football coach that was murdered on the field in front of his team, in front of his families, in front of his team family. And just wanted to touch on it a little bit. It was definitely a travesty. It happened in Lancaster, Texas.
Yeah.
The coach's name was Michael Hickman, and there was an altercation on the field after some disagreement with officiating from one of the teams, and allegedly someone kicked the ball out of the coach's hands, which led to a fight and which led to this coach being shot and killed on the field. They took him to a hospital where he was DOA. It just highlights so much just senseless nonsense to me, bro. Like, it's such a sad thing. I don't want to call it the like irony in it or any. I don't know necessarily what I'm thinking. What the word I want to find for that was, but the person that's accused of killing him, Michael Hickman, is Yaqub Talib.
Yeah.
That's Aqib Talib's brother, former Denver Bronco cornerback, NFL cornerback, and you know, I don't think that should be necessarily the story because when these people are senselessly killed, I think we highlight the killer a lot more than we probably should. I think just highlighting this wonderful coach is more due than to necessarily highlight the killer. But like I said, before the shooting, the opposing coaching staff were arguing about calls by the refs, according to the police report, citing witnesses. There was video out of them swinging the marker, and then you see someone pull out the gun, and they stop playing the video. And
you know, it's sad. It's senseless crime, man. Like, it's just a shame that we can't even go to our children's games anymore without someone taking a gun.
Yeah.
You know, like, why are you taking a gun to a youth game anyway? What are you afraid of, bro? You can't just squabble real quick, you know what I mean? Get it over with and fight and you know, you shouldn't be fighting there, period. But if it escalates to that, you can't just handle it like men and fight and then move on about your business, even though, you know, it's not the right way to handle it.
I
It's
feel what
better
you're
than
saying.
pulling out a gun at a youth event
For sure.
and just shooting senselessly, excuse me. And, you know, what if a stray bullet would have caught a child, you know?
Yeah.
Thank God, like, you know,
Well, it was
none of
more
that
than one
happened.
shot,
And,
dude.
yeah, I know. And, you know, rest in peace to Michael Hickman. You know, again, we don't speak enough about the victims, like you said, and especially, you know, if it's a crime that the media really doesn't want to talk about because it's not bringing in the views that they want it to bring in, you know, and it's not bringing in the attention that other crimes would be if it was maybe interracial or whatever the case may be, you know. But the fact of the matter is this man who dedicates his time to sports, you know, played sports collegiately as well, and is dedicating his time to better our communities. And, you know, we're not talking about him and what he's doing for the community. And rest in peace, and shout out to him and his family. You know, they're going through some tough times right now, and it's just a shame that this is what it's coming to nowadays.
Well, I think you touched on it too, bro. Why the F are you bringing a gun to a football game for? You know, if you're that worried about security or the area, I mean, we can hire security people. You know, football's big in Texas, and they're also big on protecting their kids sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
We've seen some different situations where it's different, but, you know, hire security. Hire somebody else to do that.
Well, it goes to make you think, right? Because Aqib Talib was right there when it happened.
Yep.
So was his brother his security?
Perhaps.
And is that going to be their defense? That they were afraid because the guy was swinging a down marker at him, so a down marker is reason to pull out a firearm and shoot him? Like, you're an NFL player. You got hit way harder than that on the field.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that you have your brother packing heat so he can protect you because someone's swinging a down marker at you? That's a bunch of BS.
Dude, the thing that frustrates me, and I'm not – this can come out wrong, and I'm not victim blaming at all. I don't want that to come off like that. But we just – you know, we got to know when to walk away.
Yep.
You know, and I try to preach this to kids all the time. And, you know, there's been instances where I've wanted to push things further because somebody did me wrong or, you know, disrespected me. And on both ends, if somebody just chooses to walk away, it doesn't escalate. And, you know, if you're on a football field with a gun as security, you got to know when to walk away then if that's the case, right?
Well, yeah, and you think about the bigger picture, right? Because you have to walk away, and especially in a sports environment, this is why we have so many participation trophies nowadays, because they're trying to take the competition aspect out of the game, because so many parents or coaches are arguing with officials over a play call.
Yeah.
Or getting into fights on the sideline because of a play call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's a bad call or a good call, it's their job.
Yeah.
Every call is going to be questioned. So it's just, it's sad that, you know, we take this game and we get so personal with it to where it escalates to these altercations instead of just, you know, taking it for what it is.
Even like you're saying, and we're going to talk about officiating later, you know, and this is a big part of the problem. Even then, like, you said your piece. Now walk away from the referee.
Yeah.
Like, you said your piece. You know, if parents see you going wild, what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to start going wild, and they're going to start reining in on everybody. You're as a coach, you're supposed to be even keel, right? You're supposed to be the leader for your team, and that's not just your players. Unfortunately, that means the people in the stands, as far as you control your emotion, their emotions feeding off of yours, right? So if you're getting worked up, arguing and yelling at the referee, what do you think they're going to start doing? They're going to start yelling at the referee. They're going to start blaming the referee too, because you've kind of set that tone. And it's unfortunate. I've been there where referees have really, really put their stamp on the game, and it sucks when it happens. But man, it's just unfortunate that it led to this.
Well, another thing, dude, is the parents, right? Parents have to realize that and appreciate the fact that these coaches have their children for several hours during the week, right? An equal split, honestly.
Yeah,
if you're thinking about it, it's like an equal split, honestly, a lot of the times. And you have to appreciate them for what they're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the altercations sometimes have nothing to do with the officials. Sometimes it's a parent on the sideline complaining because little Johnny didn't get enough playing time, or you pulled my son out when we were up 25-0 and you played another kid. Why did you do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be somebody that questions an official's call, a head coaching decision, regardless of it, you know, and unfortunately people can't put their own grievances aside for just a little while to allow the game to simmer, resolve, and just, you know, ask the question later in a professional setting, like an adult would. You know what I mean?
And unfortunately, you have to, as a coach, put in the 24-hour rule.
Yep.
You know, where, hey, I know you're upset or I know you're not happy, but let's talk about this tomorrow. give us 24 hours to stew, simmer, and chill, right?
Yep.
Because football's an emotional, sports, athletics, an emotional game. When you're dealing with somebody's children, that's an emotional, thing. But I think as parents, we got to remember, like, this person that's coaching my kid doesn't necessarily have to do this.
Yep.
A lot of these
Voluntary.
people are volunteers, right? A lot of these people don't get paid, and if they do get paid, they don't get paid very much, and it's one of those things, like, you gotta respect that.
Yeah.
And you gotta respect that time. I heard you mention just a little bit ago that no one really talks about these kind of violent interactions too much. It doesn't get the same play as someone getting murdered by a black man getting murdered by a white cop, or a brown guy getting murdered by a white cop.
Interracial.
It doesn't get that same play. And Jason Whitlock, he got the Fearless podcast now, but he used to be on like ESPN, used to be on Fox Sports. I don't know if he still is. I know everyone gets these podcasts and they take off, and it's a better avenue for you to do your thing and have your voice than, say, conventional radio or whatever.
Yeah.
So Whitlock was wondering on his podcast, and he made some very, very valid points, kind of similar to the one that you just kind of brought up. And, he thought he was wondering where the outrage was in the sports world, when some of these people were murdered by the cops, whether justified or not. Some of them, they weren't justified at all. Yeah. But that's a different conversation. But, the sports world came out in support and wearing Say Her Name shirts or, George Floyd shirts. And, it was very, very big. And he was wondering why it was so quiet. There's no one mentioning Michael Hickman's name. Sorry. No one's mentioning his name in the sports world. There aren't any protests in the sports world, protesting this sort of violence towards for all accounts, a very, very stand-up individual. Like, as you mentioned, a former college athlete, a coach. He works with young people all the time, been doing it for a while. There's no crazy outrage, and it led me to wonder, because he went off on a pretty big rant with it, man, and kind of tied it to the fact that, like, popular culture would rather have you idolize sketchy minority individuals opposed to clean-cut minority individuals. And I do see that a lot in some of the stuff that we see, like there's conspiracies about, like, hip hop being infiltrated and by the CIA and being allowed to kind of proliferate drug violence and drug lifestyle, opposed to some of the cats that rap about real stuff they're kind of suppressed. They're not as pushed. It's not the popular thing. And some interesting quotes that he had, because he went on to kind of suggest that corporate media prefers black broadcasters that have street credibility.
Oh yeah,
which is wild. But then you start thinking about, I don't know, is it just because they're maybe they're a little more flamboyant? You know what I mean? Maybe they're more made for the microphone on some cats. Maybe it's just an individual thing. I think that's kind of a broad judgment, but it does kind of lend some thought to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as far as media goes, I just think, if you're made for it, you're made for it. Whether doesn't matter, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but to me it doesn't matter whether you're race or your gender, anything of that nature. You know what I mean? I think if you're good on camera and you can speak on a microphone, you're going to be in entertainment, and I think that's just the way it goes. However, I do think that as a culture, we kind of lose sight of what's important, you know what I mean? And the fact that we just don't want any of these senseless murders, whether it's interracial or
it doesn't matter.
Race,
bad is bad.
Race crime, bad is bad, and we got to start, treating all the victims exactly the same, and making sure that everybody knows their name, especially when it comes to a crime that's so senseless like this one. You know what I mean? I can see if it's just, the normal in the neighborhood kind of gang activity, senseless crime, and we got to kind of minimize that as well, but
this isn't typical like that, though.
Yeah, this is not a typical crime, and Michael Hickman should be talked about just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
These were 9-year-olds, bro. They didn't deserve to see their coach get gunned down. Like how many of them don't want to step on the field ever again because they're worried about something like that happens? Or if they are on the field and coaches start arguing or the referee starts arguing with the coach, that doesn't bring back those triggers. You know what I'm saying? Like, though, Whitlock had a quote. It says, "You can discern the agenda of corporate and social media by the names of black people are told to shout, the victims who are told to be idolized, and the men deemed worthy of outpouring emotion." And that one stuck with me a lot, man, because as we mentioned, Mike Hickman was a college graduate, father, husband, active member of his church, a volunteer football coach. He met all the criterias to be a stand-up individual in the community, and I don't know. I wonder here. I think Whitlock does have a point. I mean, in my opinion, everything comes from the media at times, and on social media it does seem to be pointed. It has a direction in which it's kind of trying to lead you. And we as humans, we're emotional. We're emotional beings, and our reaction sometimes is built off of emotion. And it seems like the media does a great job with kind of triggering those emotions. And it can be on anything, man. During COVID, it was about triggering emotions on people wearing masks and not wearing masks, and getting people wild up to want to confront people that weren't wearing them. And then they did the vaccine, and you could just see it with everything, man. That anything on TV is always built to kind of pique our interest. Like the advertisement on TV, it's louder, it's kind of poppier. You know what I mean? And you can kind of feel that sometimes depending on which news network you watch, it's pointed in a certain direction for you to kind of lean towards. So I do think he has a point with that in there, in which we got to do better as people to not just be pulled in a direction because we're being told that, but to actually see things like this that are happening and really feel outrage. I feel outraged about this, and I feel the same kind of outrage when I see weekend death totals in Chicago or here at home, because here at home's turned into a battle zone.
You know what I think that we all have to realize, and we touched base on technology last week and kind of some of the, what technology can do for us. Well, we got to realize that technology provides us all a voice, right? And that when we see some of these senseless crimes that aren't being talked about, need to be talked about, or, that's what these platforms are for. That's what social media is for, is freedom of speech and being able to, speak about your beliefs. I think some people get lost in Facebook and use it as a platform to cry about the senseless BS that no one cares about, instead of really talking about what matters in your community. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need to use these platforms to speak about the positive that's going on, and also speak about the negative that we want to eradicate from our communities. And I just think that we need to be better at using the platforms that are ahead of us in order to get the right word out there, just like the podcasts that we reference.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's so frustrating because you're right. Social media is such a good tool for connecting us to the world and connecting us with other people, and we just need to use it more in that manner. I was thinking 2 years ago we did our march. I think it's like 2 years on the 21st or something like that. We were doing our march. You know what I mean? And we connected with the community, and it was a peace march, and it was a great thing. But the work's never done, unfortunately. The work is never done.
Yeah, and there are good things going on in our community. They have these safe zones that they do, very often over at Manual High School. And it's a great thing to see it on Facebook and see them opening up this safe zone and this community sort of block party for our youth, so that way they can know they can go do something that they enjoy and be safe at the same time. So big shout out to them for always having the safe zones over at Manual High School, and I think we need to spread some more of those throughout the state.
Spread that love, not that hate.
Yep. But before we move on from this, I want to just touch base on Mike Hickman and his family again. Deepest condolences to their family.
Absolutely.
It has been a hard time for him. Like I said, he was a former college athlete, and he is also, just recently they had lost Jennifer Hickman, who happens to be also a former athlete and a mentor / coach, that she was also murdered. So,
it's his sister, right?
Or she's a teacher, yeah. She was murdered in 2020, and it's just a shame that both of them were both collegiate athletes turned around and doing something positive in the community, and they both got murdered senselessly, and we're not talking enough about them. So,
Yep.
Rest in peace, Jennifer Hickman and Michael Hickman.
All right, man. So we kind of touched on officiating there, and I know you had an interesting little story that you were talking about earlier about officiating, man. I think we need to get the word out.
Yeah, man. I think just with referee shortages, it's kind of going a little bit crazy throughout the nation, really. But locally here in Colorado, we're starting to see it impact a lot more scheduling of games. At the youth level, we're seeing games going a little bit later and outside the normal time frame because we have to kind of utilize the referees in one day to ref multiple games. You know what I mean? So shout out to those refs that are working hard to make this happen. But in the high school, we're seeing scheduling where it's impacting Friday night lights as we know it, man. So they're starting to take a lot of the Friday night lights games and moving them to either Thursdays or Saturdays. And so far for this season, in order to get through this season, they had to bump 60 high school football games in order to see the season through. And that sucks when you're talking about Friday night lights, man. That's the culture of high school football. So hopefully we can figure this out with officials soon. I know it's a shortage of employment all over, but, officiating is a tough job, and I wish we can kind of appreciate them more like I was saying earlier, and they're going to call a good call for you. It may be a bad call for me, but we all just got to quit bitching and just live with it. It's the game.
Dude, that story that you sent, it did mention them 50 from Friday night. And Friday night, I know Friday night doesn't seem like a big deal. Hey, there's Thursday, there's Saturday. I know to some that doesn't seem like a big deal, but Friday night lights is so important to football that the NFL has an unspoken agreement that they will never play a game on Friday night.
Yeah.
Just so that they don't take over that time for high school football. That's how important Friday night lights is to football. And it's just unfortunate, man.
Yeah, and people don't realize that in some small towns throughout the nation, there are several football towns that just appreciate Friday night lights to where it's not just a football game, it's a community event. Dude. We were at Meade
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and we're traveling to play Meade on a Friday night light, and the town was empty
rocking
because they're all at the game.
Yeah.
And the game is rocking. We're in the booth, right, for this particular game, and it feels like there's an earthquake underneath us because it's shaking because they're just loving it, and the environment was great, man.
Oh, it was fantastic.
We were on the opposing team that day, but just being in that environment and seeing Friday night lights.
It was definitely a definition of a hostile environment.
It is just such a great thing. So, to see 60 football games rescheduled because of officials, it's pretty sad.
Dude, I lived out in Grand Junction for a little bit, and so there's like 4 high schools that play at that local Grand Junction Stadium: Palisade, Grand Junction Central, and Fruita Monument.
Yeah.
And every game, both sets of stands, and there were full stands on both sides, both sets of stands full. Every single game.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting everyone to show up. Like you said, it's an event. The town shuts down. Ask Frank about this. Our senior year, we went and played up at Rifle.
Yeah.
And, dude, the same thing. We get up there, we're thinking good of ourselves. We had a solid team, and then the freaking town showed up, dude. And we had like 6 sets of parents that showed up for ours. It's a long drive from here to Rifle, but it was just intense to see, bro. And that's what that small town love of football is, man. And I was seeing that they only have like 19 crews in the Denver Metro.
Yeah, it says approximately 50,000 officials have left the high school ranks nationally since the 2018-2019 school year.
Dude, I used to umpire, and I used to referee some flag football. I worked for this company called Rocky Mountain Officials, and shout out to them. They're cool. I mean, I could probably still do it again if I wanted to, apparently. Yeah. But it's a tough gig, bro. Me and my son used to do it. My oldest son, AJ, he was like 13, 14 years old, and they let you officiate at 13. And I'd go with him and do games. He'd do games by himself. And it didn't matter. These coaches were yelling at these 13 and 15 and 14-year-old kids like they're, because they allegedly made a bad call.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why, right? I mean, we're having a shortage of everything since the pandemic or whatever the case may be, but at the same time, man, it's because people are assaulting these referees. Yep. People are following them back to their cars. Yep. I mean, we've had incidents here locally where a dad and a son were beat up. A dad, just like you said, you and your son were a referee dad-son combo. same situation, and they got beat up because of a bad call.
I remember that.
You know what I mean? And I just think that, again, a bad call to me could be a good call for you.
Yeah.
A good call for me could be a bad call for you. And we have to realize that. We have to realize that they're all judgment calls, right? They're making judgment calls and game time speed. So just like
without I think we get used to like the NFL and MLB now and the NBA, they all have replay, right?
Yeah.
So I think we get used to this idea that they should be perfect because these guys in the NFL, NBA, they're all perfect because they got the benefit of technology to get the call right. And that's not the case at all. There is no replay in Colorado sports. Like you're seeing it based off of your judgment, like you said, it's hard to, and I bet on both ends of it. It's hard.
Well, as spectators, I think we often get lost in taking our knowledge of the sport that we love and thinking that every decision is made with the same kind of intensity or in the same environment in which we're spectating the game from.
True.
If we're sitting in the stands or we're sitting at home and there's a bad call, we're not in the environment in which the call was made, so we can't judge that call. Of course, we're all going to say, oh, that was a bullshit call, ref, or this and that in our head, especially if we're at home and we're in the losing team and we're driving and it stalls our drive. We all been there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, before we start bitching at the refs excessively to where it turns into these situations or refs start quitting, we need to realize that ref is human and that ref made a judgment call, and his decision may not even be the decision he would make if he rewatched it. But at the time of the moment, that's the decision he made, and we all have to live with it.
Yeah. And like you said, he's human too. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. We all make mistakes, so you got to keep that in mind and respect that aspect of it too. I can understand why people are not trying to be officials. It is decent money. Like I know I was making anywhere from like 25 to like $45 a game. Sometimes we get like 6 or 7 games in.
Oh, bro, I think it's so. We had our league meeting for our roles a few weeks back or whatever. And they were talking about this exact thing and why some of our scheduling is we're playing later games and the reason behind it. And we were talking about officials. And they said that they're looking for officials if we know anybody, and they're paying them $75 a game.
Wow.
And some officials are, now they're putting them to where they're getting multiple games a day. They're paying better at the youth level in some cases than high school.
That's wild,
and that's another reason why some of these guys are leaving, because at the youth level they're making double the amount they would.
And maybe not as intense depending on the league. It's not going to be as crazy. It makes sense, man.
The difference is, though, as a high school official, right, you don't have to deal with as much of the heckling and harassment. I mean, you get it in the high school game.
Used to hear our parents.
No, you get it in the high school game, right? But what I'm saying is it's not up close in your face like that. There's more
It's
there's
like
more
not right
security
on the
precautions to keep them away from the officials,
so
the officials could hear it. But at a youth game, we're face to face.
Yeah, we're right
and
there.
It's like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, so.
It's a tough job, bro, and I give it up to officials. I definitely have had my say to officials. Like we've coached. I mean, I won't mention the game or the team that we were playing, but I remember this official kind of very strongly shoved Coach Dom out the way.
Yeah,
and so there's faults there too. But I'll give it up to the officials every time, man. It's a tough job. I don't do it anymore just because I didn't want to deal with pissed off coaches, pissed off parents. Listen, what happens. Like that. It's a tough job, man. And so if they can make some bank off of it, I encourage people to go be an official. You know, if you got thick skin, like go for it. We definitely need you. Officials serve just as much as a purpose to the game as the players and coaches do. Yep. You know what I mean?
For sure. But you said something right there that they got to remember. Thick skin, right? If you're going to be official and you're going to go out there to make that money and you want to rack in as many games as you possibly can in one Saturday afternoon, By the time you get to the 5th game, don't take out your frustrations from game 1, 2, and 3, and 4 on that 5th game. Have thick skin. It goes both ways. If you want parents and coaches to stay off your back, don't bring your negative energy into the game because it happens.
Well,
we all understand it. We're all human.
One thing I've seen leagues do, and I think our league does something similar, and I think some of the high school leagues do it now too, is they're starting to have harsher penalties for parents, for coaches who kind of cross that line.
Yep.
You know, suspensions, fines.
Rightfully so, too.
I think we had a parent last year that got suspended for like the remainder of the season, and I think they couldn't go to a CHASA event for like a year because of some way they were treating officiating and security.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things, dude, where you kind of see it happen a lot, and I think it's good to kind of try to rein people in, get off these people back. I understand. Been there, done that. Trust me. Been coaching a long time. I've seen so many calls that I feel like were just horrible. But then I've seen some bad ones that work to our favor too.
Yeah.
And hey, I didn't mind those ones too much.
I love a bad call that goes the right way.
They call that lucky bounce, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to take advantage of those situations and be thankful that you get them. But like I said, shout out to the referees. You know, they try to help keep us right. Speaking about keeping us right, though, Dom.
Yeah.
Yo, shout out to my boy Christian Whitney and Black Sevens. If you need any graphic design work, make sure you hit up Christian at black7s.com. Christian's a native of North Denver, and he's the beast at what he does. He is also a great dude. So visit his website, black7s.com right now. See his work, buy some merch. You know, if you're starting your own company up, shoot him the inquiry. Let him put something together for you. Again, he's amazing at what he does. When we had the idea for DNA, Dom took it to him, said, Christian, this is what I need. And he was Barry Bonds on that thing, bro. He hit it out the park. So shout out to Christian Whitney, black7s.com. Again, make sure you go visit him, visit what they're doing over there. And if you need that work, go get that work.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Christian, man. He definitely did hit it out the park. And speaking of hitting it out the park, man, you got a nice little episode coming up here right now, this little segment into this.
So in the professional world, they call that a segue, Coach.
Yes, sir.
And I do, man. I got a really good story. Again, it's one that we missed last week, and how we missed this, I don't know. But it's an amazing, amazing story of a young man who persevered through a lot of things to get to where he is at.
Shouts out to him.
Speaking of Wynton Bernard, he is a 31-year-old who was just called up to the majors after 10 years and 863 games in the minors. The Colorado Rockies called him up last Friday. Immediately made an impact on the game. He came in the 7th inning and sparked a 7th-run rally that helped the Rockies win that game. It was crazy. Received a huge standing ovation at the plate for the first time. I mean, dude, he's 31 years old, and like I said, he was drafted in 2012 in the 35th round. I don't know how familiar you are with the draft. Okay, they got like 40 rounds in the MLB draft. Them guys that are in like 30 and beyond, they don't usually make it through the minors. Like it's a freaking grind.
Yeah,
and this guy put up 10 years of that.
Yeah, hey, man, it just shows that hard work, believing in yourself, and perseverance truly does pay off, you know. Shouts out to him for continuing to grind, you know, and work and push through, even when a lot of people would have gave up and, you know, said, you know what, I did this for a long time, I'm not going to finally get there, and he didn't, and he chose to stick it out and continue to work his tail off, and now it's showing, man, because he's definitely making an impact.
Bro, it was amazing, dude. There was a Instagram video of the phone call he made to his mom.
Oh yeah,
and it gave me the chills, bro.
Yeah,
he's like, "Mama, I made it. I finally made it." Like, just to hear the joy in his voice, man. And again, 10 years is a long time to be playing minor league baseball. I don't know if you know anything about minor league baseball, but they don't get paid like the major league baseball players do.
10 years is a long time to be doing anything. You know, especially when it's something that is, and again, I'm not trying to call it you know, whoever's in the minors, shouts out to them for being in the minors, but you know, it's almost of a stepping stone, a plateau or a level before they get to the majors. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So 10 years to be, in the minors, to work your tail off to get to where you're at, man, that has to be tough, bro. Like I said, like every day thinking like,
Dude,
do I want to just hang it up?
So listen to this path. He was taken in the 35th round in 2012. I believe it was by the Padres. He spent time in the Padres minor system. He also played in the minor systems for Detroit, San Francisco, and the Cubs, along with stints in the Mexican Winter League, the Venezuelan Winter League, and independent ball. He also played for the Brisbane Bandits of the Australian Baseball League. It's just an incredible story of perseverance, man. Never give up on your dreams. Like, this dude had a dream to play baseball at the highest level, and to try to reach his dream, he went and played everywhere. And I mean literally everywhere. Latin America for the wintertime. It's freaking crazy, dude. And I like, for any of my kids that I coach, any of my kids, to look at that story and be inspired by it, because
never give up,
dude. It sounds cliche all the time. People say it, don't ever give up, always keep fighting. It sounds cliche, but you know what? That's fact, man. If you don't give up on your dreams and you work hard to try to achieve your dreams, you never know where you're going to be. We always say, work towards perfection and fall towards greatness.
Yep, chase perfection and fall to greatness.
That's it, man. Like, don't let anything kind of derail you. I love stories like this. Again, I wish I can pull up this freaking video for this him talking to his mom, but it ain't linking up right now.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible, man. That's what got me. Him talking to his moms, because I can think about moms is there for you ever. And if you don't got your mom with you right now, I because they're no longer with us, RIP to your moms, because that's your earth, man. It's where you come from, right? Like, that's usually a lot of people's lives, and one of the most important people in their lives. And so to be able to see him share that moment with his mom and be like, you see her joy, think about all she's been through.
Yeah, for me, it's the perseverance in his story, right? How he just continued to push through. Like, that right there, man, just gives me chills and gives me inspiration to do whatever I ever thought I could do in life. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of whether I'm in my older years or not right now, you know what I mean? Like, he just makes you feel like you can. Yeah,
in baseball years, he's in his older years. Like you said, 10 years of anything. I think if you're a plumber or you're an electrician for 10 years, you get be considered a master electrician, master plumber. I mean, I wonder if there was times where he's sitting there like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's countless people out there that have been in his same situation that didn't pan out.
Right.
So like,
they felt the dream was going to happen. So, with him, there had to be something that just was like, I'm going to keep pushing.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. Speaking of incredible, before we get into our next topic, because that's a big one, and I'm excited to talk about that one.
Yeah.
The UFC fights last night.
Man.
That last fight, that Usman fight, was another story of perseverance, right?
Bro, I'm telling you, like, it happened so quickly, like, I had to catch the replay, I'm not going to lie. We were, like, kind of shuffling some things around, cleaning up after our draft or whatever, and I just heard the eruption. I turned and looked and seen the stiff arms,
Oh, he was out.
Yeah,
he was awake, but he was out.
Yeah, it was weird because he was like halfway out, kind of like he was out, but like you said, awake.
Dude, shout out to old boy, because Lord knows he could have probably jumped on him and got a couple more punches in.
Oh, but he knew the minute he knew, and everyone else
knew. Like, yeah,
the minute that kick made contact, bro, he was done. There's no way he was escaping that. Like, there's gonna be a trilogy now. Like, shout out to Usman, because honestly, he was on his way to winning that fight.
Oh yeah,
he was controlling that
Still
fight.
the GOAT.
And he got caught. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It happens to everybody. If you're out there, trying to say, "Oh, I never," you're bullshitting.
Yeah, you're out there enough, you're gonna get caught with something. He got slept, bro. I told you I was fidgeting on my phone, watching it on my phone because it got home. It was kind of late, and man, what what happened?
Yeah, for sure.
It rocked the jaw. Great fight though. Super excited when you get good fights like that and good, amazing outcomes like that. He 404 into the 5th round. There's literally less than a minute left. This guy's on the what looks like a losing, and the commentators are talking about how he might just be happy with getting out of here with a decision, and decision loss, and it might just be he's content with that. And then boom, lightning strikes, and Usman's sleeping. It's what a crazy fight, man. But it goes to show you, again, like the last story we just talked about, you keep pressing through, you keep fighting, you keep swinging, you keep kicking, whatever you got to do to get there, man. This Edwards kid just reached the pinnacle, and he just probably accomplished one of his biggest dreams.
Yeah, but also on that card, bro, how about the crazy ending to Rockhold and Acosta, right?
Didn't see it.
Oh, were you gone by that time?
I was gone by then, dude. I didn't see that. The Rockhold fight.
Bro, you have to tune back in and watch the way it ends. I mean, shout out to Rockhold and his amazing career. He's been doing it forever. He literally at the end said, "I'm too fucking old. I'm done. I'm too fucking old."
Did he lose?
He lost by decision. It was a great fight, but he was bleeding from the mouth, right?
Yeah.
And he was on the ground, but turned and was able to gain top position. And from top position, just started rubbing his face against Acosta's face, and there was blood everywhere. It was weird. It was almost like a warrior ritual that he did. It was the craziest thing that we seen. Everybody in the party had their own little feeling about it. Some were grossed out. Some were like, "What am I watching?" It was crazy, bro. But I recommend you go back and check that out, because he definitely shared some DNA with them.
There was a bigger story that came out. Shout out to DNA.
You like how I did that, huh?
There was a bigger story that came out yesterday at the UFC fights that I wanted to ask you quickly about and see what you thought about. About Dana White saying that he helped broker a deal for Tom Brady and Gronk to play in Las Vegas in 2020.
Yeah, it was said. It was,
and that Gruden nixed it.
It was done, but Gruden, decided to not go with it, or whatever the case may be. But everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm not going to harp on it too much, but damn.
Yeah, it's funny because that was one of the places he was rumored.
Yeah.
And it.
Well, it was weird because it was like rumored, but then not.
And then it got quiet.
Heavily talked about. Like it was like a big rumor and then nothing.
Yeah.
So.
You sad? You think you guys might have been the Buccaneers instead of the Buccaneers?
Oh, definitely. There's no doubt in my mind that we would have been in the Super Bowl if we had Tom Brady. No doubt in my mind.
Not one defensive back doubt in your mind.
Nope, not at all. Although Tampa's defense is legit,
right?
You know what I mean. So they got there again because
he got to a good team.
He was in the right fit.
Yeah.
So it happened. It worked out the best for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Like right now, we're in a good situation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're going to be competing for that bowl this year. So,
I just saw that.
I seen it yesterday too, and I was just like,
I saw it. I thought about you, and I thought about my cousin Lorenzo. He listens all the time. Shout out, cuz he texted me yesterday wanting to get into some action with the Raiders and Dolphins because we have an annual. Every time they play, we have a bet, and I've been winning that bet a lot lately. I lost last year, which kind of sucks, and I would have lost yesterday, but I don't bet on preseason games.
Yeah.
But he's a big Raider fan too. So, you guys. You guys like to talk about the glory years. I just wonder how you would have felt rooting for Tom Brady after the game,
and then that's probably why Gruden nixed it. Honestly, he's probably like, "Fuck them."
Man, we got screwed by that guy a few years back. I don't want to bring him on this team.
Yeah, man. But anyway,
yo,
what I wanted to get into is it's that time. We said it earlier. Smiles in the air. Football's in the air.
Let's go.
Top 25 high school matchups have started.
Okay.
Right? My game of the week for this week is number 6, Bishop Gorman.
Out of Las Vegas.
Out of Las Vegas versus number 2, Mater Dei out of California. Santa Ana, California, I believe, to be specific. Bishop Gorman won big in their opener, beating Corner Canyon 42-7, while Mater Dei steamrolled West Salt Lake City 42-0 on their way to defending their national title. Quarterback Elijah Brown threw for 5 TDs, improving to 18-0 in his high school career.
Golly. 18-0?
18-0 in his high school career.
That boy ain't took an L yet.
He's special, man. And this program is special. We all know about the program.
Yeah.
And so is Bishop Gorman.
Yeah, these are two perennial powerhouses, man.
And they're a powerhouse as well. And they have a senior cornerback. He's committed to Hawaii, who also plans to build off of his week 1 performance that he got a pick 6. So it's going to be an exciting game to watch, man. I'm in tune for it. It goes down Friday, August 26th at 7 p.m. You know, if you have access to watch it, I recommend you watch it. You know, it's going to be very, very exciting to see both these teams kind of slug it out a little bit. You know, I think it's going to be truly a great game to see. When you talk about the comparisons of the two, you know, they're great. They have Elijah Brown at quarterback. You know, Marcus Brown plays for them as well. They're great teams. You talk about their commitment to excellence in their program, you know, and what they do year in and year out to recruit and kind of bring in athletes and coach them up to be great college recruits as well. It's just amazing to see their progression.
Them schools kind of recruit themselves, you know, and they're great schools. I mean, them, you know, always perennial at the top 10 nationally at the end of the year. You know, you get like South Lake Carroll, you know, get some mentions. IMG. You know, there's good football played in California, Texas, and Florida, but to see schools like Bishop Gorman, you know, they're making a say about it. You get some of these schools out in like Pennsylvania and Ohio and whatnot that still make a pretty good ruckus. And, you know, locally, I'd like to think that maybe Cherry Creek can start getting up there.
Oh, Cherry Creek's definitely up there. They've been competing the last couple of years, and they actually have a game coming up shortly with a number 1 team from Cleveland as well. So.
Oh, nice. You know, we kind of touched on it last week. They're on that mission for four in a row.
Yeah.
We used to see Valor always go up and play against some of these other good teams. I think Cherry Creek went and played like Chandler High School in Arizona last year, which is another perennial top 25 team all the time. So it's cool, man. Like I like that high school football gets more attention in terms of national stuff now that you know, the internet and you know, you can watch these games. You can go pull up these games, you know, and check them out. So
yeah, for sure. We got, you know, like I said, game of this week again is Bishop Gorman and Mater Dei, the 26th, and then the week after that we're having Cherry Creek going out to Cleveland to play the Eagles.
Nice.
You know, and it's going to be great to see them go out there and play St. Edwards. St. Edwards is, again, a powerhouse team from Cleveland. You know, I was talking with one of my buddies at work. He's from Cleveland, and he may be going back home to check this game out. And it's pretty exciting, man. I think they are a top 25 team.
They're number 24 right now.
Yeah, they're number 24 nationally ranked. We're number 45. But, you know, I think, again, like you said, we're going up for our 4th state title.
Yep.
Our.
Our.
I speak of our because it's, you know, Colorado versus everybody.
Amen.
When it comes to football, you know how we get down. But, you know, shout out to Dave Logan and what he's done and any school that he's ever touched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he just goes in
championships
and he
everywhere.
turns them around. He breeds championship football.
What, A-West, Chatfield, Mullen.
Yeah, you can't name Colorado football without mentioning Dave Logan.
Not at all.
So shouts out to him and everything he does for all of our local athletes, and you know, we're all rooting for you when you go out to Cleveland to take that dub.
Real quickly, Coach, top 10 nationally. You got number 1, St. John Bosco. Number 2, Mater Dei. Number 3, St. Francis Academy out of Baltimore. Number 4, IMG Academy. Number 5, St. Thomas Aquinas out of Fort Lauderdale. Number 6, the aforementioned Bishop Gorman. Number 7, Westlake. Number 8, Chandler. Number 9, Centennial Corona. And then number 10, North Shore out of Houston. So it's always a tough one to see who's going to end up on top because a lot of these teams will never play each other, and you have to kind of go off of like watching them play common foes or watching them play highly ranked teams, and without the benefit of the doubt of actually having a national tournament, you kind of never know. But it's exciting, man. I love seeing the hype for high school football in this country, and you know. I think high school football is where it's at in terms of the passion, bro. It's probably the most purest football. Although you get up on these upper levels, there's a lot of politics that go into play and make you wonder sometimes what kind of backroom of deals and arrangements are made. But I think high school football is the purest form of football, besides like Pee-wees, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. And again, it's just fun to watch. You know, it's fun to watch every level of football at its highest level. Yep. You know what I mean? Whether it's youth and you're watching all these teams that travel nationally and they're playing each other, you know, or it's high school and you're seeing the perennial top 25 go at each other, you know, or collegiate or, you know, playoff football in the NFL. It's just fun, man. I love the game of football. I'm excited that it's back. And I'm excited to watch it on all levels.
You know, talking locally, we just had Coach AJ and Wheat Ridge. They were playing with our Arvada Central
Spartans
team.
Yeah.
That was a top 10 matchup.
It was a top 10 matchup. You know, it didn't turn out the way that we wanted to, but,
early.
You know, sometimes that's the way it happens, you know.
Well, sometimes that's what inspires your season to, like, yo, get your focus. Like, let's get this shit right.
Yeah,
you know?
Lessons,
yep.
right? They're lessons.
Shout out to billionaires, junior buffs. I mean, they all play. They all ball. And they've all been playing all these other teams from out of state and whatnot. So it's exciting to see the youth start getting ready to go and get it popping. We've seen some high school games. I think Northfield beat GW last either yesterday or Friday night.
Yeah, which
is, you know, damn, high school ball's already here. Like it's wild, man. I'm excited for it. I know you're excited for it. Shout out to North. They had like three scrimmages that they did against Littleton, Lincoln, and what's the one in Commerce City? Adams City. And they talking to a couple of their coaches, they didn't give up a touchdown.
Yeah.
In any of the scrimmages, and they looked on. So
yeah, man, and Frankie was out there dropping dimes, bro.
I saw that. Frankie was dropping
all those videos.
Shout out little Frankie Dardano, man.
Yeah, Frankie Dardano out there dropping dimes. You know?
Listen, if that kid's not on your radar, if you follow high school sports in Colorado especially, and that kid's not on your radar, you better get that kid on your radar. I mean, he's just a football player, dude, and I know you've coached him when he was a kid. I've had an opportunity to be an offensive line coach on the team when he was our quarterback last year and the year before that. And the kid's a baller, man. He's got heart.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got freaking heart like none other, and he's not afraid to stick his nose in there.
Yeah, and that goes for, you know, these kids go to schools, you know, and that might not be the Christian Ballards or the Pomonas or the Mullins of the world, you know, but they go to schools that mean something to them, and they're still great athletes, and they're still out there competing, and they're still ranked amongst all these kids that go to all those top-notch schools because they continue to put in the work, and the athlete makes the success, you know what I mean? The
cream always rises to the top.
On. So shout out to Frankie Dardano coming into his junior season, you know, balled out last year, finished top of the passing leaders, you know, and I anticipate that he's going to do the same again this year.
Can I talk my shit real quick, Coach?
Go ahead, Coach.
Our offense last year averaged damn near 40 points a game. I think we're like 39.9, so fuck it. I'm going to say 40 points a game.
Talk, Coach.
Right? Man, we put it on we lit up the scoreboard a lot last year.
Yes, we did.
And a big part of that, Frankie Dardano.
Yes, sir. He knows how to manage games.
Dude, we were getting we got our ass kicked against Lutheran that one game. It was rough. But you know who's out there in the fourth quarter still trying to make plays, still trying to score touchdowns, giving his all, trying to take his team?
Yeah.
Frankie Dardano. Because you know why? He understands that them little moments, even though in a loss, them little moments matter the most. Because you fast forward a few weeks later when we're playing Kennedy. We're playing Kennedy in a highly contested game.
And the arguably the top two quarterbacks in 3A.
Yep.
Right at the time.
Yep. And he knows that he needs to give it his all the whole game. He can fall back on the fact that he's done that his entire season because that's what he did. And when it came down to it, I know the play that won the game was a defensive play that I helped kind of coach up.
Yeah.
Shout out to Coach Al on that. But he wasn't afraid to go blow for blow with them, bro.
Nah.
And that quarterback, he was not afraid to go blow for blow with them.
Well, yeah, man. You know what? And shout out to Isaac Cisneros as well over at Kennedy.
Yep.
You know, going into that game, you know, talking a lot with Frankie, I know it was a lot of comparisons and a lot of people saying how, Isaac was above him and this and that. And if you know Frankie, like I know Frankie, he's a competitor.
Yeah.
He has great sportsmanship. He's very respectful, very coachable, but he's a competitor and he wants to win by any means necessary. And he's going to do whatever it takes to show his teammates that he's willing to put the game on his back and he's willing to go to war with them.
Yeah.
And going into that game, hearing everybody kind of, Isaac Cisneros this, Isaac Cisneros that.
Yeah.
Kind of put a little chip on his shoulder, and he went out there and he played a great game. Isaac had a great game.
Yeah,
as
they both balled out.
They both did what they did.
Yep.
Shouts out to these DPS quarterbacks still at both DPS schools, but both were on the top of the
it was a great game,
leader
man.
list at the end of the season. So
that kid had no quit in him, man, and I appreciate coaching him last year. I know they're going to have a great year this year. And I know he's going to find a lot of success personally just based off of who he is as an athlete and as a person. He's a good kid, man. He's a great kid, comes from a great family.
Yeah.
Just excited to see what he does. So I know that's kind of impromptu, but shout out, though, because
have him on the podcast one of these days, too.
For sure. So before we get out of here, Dom.
Yeah.
We got the mailbag, bro. Got a couple of questions.
All right.
So I'll go first with it. Coach Dom.
What's up?
What qualities do you prefer in a pass rusher, and what goes into evaluating an athlete to find out which type of pass rusher they fall under?
Well, I think a lot of things go into it, but just to touch base on a few of them, I look for high motor, quick feet, accurate hands, aggression, coachable. It sounds very cliche, but all the small things really, truly matter, right? Stance, get off, hand placement, footwork, pad level, and speed, size, strength, and ability. That's all goes into play when you're talking about what you're looking for in a certain pass rusher.
Nice.
And then for you, they had a question. What do the best offensive lines that you've coached or that you've witnessed have in common?
Me. No, just no, I think the one thing that they've had in common was they all found a way to work above their ability at times.
Yeah.
And that's an important one because sometimes, we're limited on the gifts that God has given us, right? We might not have the quickest feet or we might not have, we might not be the strongest, but there's always ways to kind of help yourself in the game work around those situations, whether it be if I'm not super strong, I play sound technique. If I'm not super strong, I got quick feet, quick hands, and I'm able to get on the defender before he gets his hands on me. Maybe I'm just a really smart athlete and I know where I'm supposed to be. And so I might not be the fastest, but I know how to get there faster than you because I know a better angle. I think they all have that and that they were very coachable in common. And the ones that I've had that I've been successful with and the ones that stuck through and finished the year as starters, they were all coachable. They were all willing to work and willing to hear me out. Even if they thought they knew better, they would listen and understand that I might have a different perspective than they do, especially seeing it from the box, seeing it from the sideline, seeing it on film. They've all been receptive to that, and I think that goes a long way in having a successful offensive line. It's not just about being the biggest, the strongest. It's about working your ass off in practice to know who you're supposed to slide to and if a blitz is showing, know where we're going in the run game, knowing the best angle to attack a defender, to set up your block. All that stuff's found out in practice. Yeah. And to have a group that was always willing to put in the work and to shut up and listen, those are always my most successful ones.
Can I kind of answer that from a defensive perspective a little bit for you?
Why don't you?
Because you're kind of beating around the bush, but saying it but not saying it, and in my opinion, being your counterpart coaching against you for all these years.
Yep.
I believe a lot of your best offensive line were due to the fact that they communicated well together and they played in unison.
Yeah.
Those lines that you got to, you got them to be able to communicate, like you said, blitz recognition, slide protection, things like that. They've communicated at a high level, and you know, they moved in unison while communicating. Those have been our best offensive lines, in my opinion. And shouts out to you for getting high school kids to be able to do that, you know, because sometimes we know that the attention span isn't the greatest.
You know, I would love to take all the credit for that, because that just would be awesome, but I can't. And it's having good kids. Now, what I will take credit for is understanding the room a little bit and understanding who I have and who I can put out there to kind of be a leader amongst that group. Yeah. And that's one thing I feel like I've been good at in finding, is like when I had Josiah at center, you know, he was a vocal leader. He was a good leader. Donnie. Yeah. He was a great leader on that offensive line. I think that makes my job easier. Yeah. You know, Jose Sandoval and Lance, when they were communicating, it made my job easier to have kids that know what the expectations are, but also can relate with everyone else on the squad. Yeah. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And you see the same thing with your defensive linemen. You guys talk all the time. You guys have an understanding. But, again, it all goes back to practice. Yeah. And when we put that work in practice and we're installing, they're not bullshitting when it comes to the install. They're listening to what they're supposed to be looking for, what they're supposed to be talking about, where they're supposed to be sliding. Your guys are looking at where they're supposed to be coming out, how quick and precise their crosses are supposed to be, how they get to that next level and find the ball. You know, I think all that hard work that goes on in practice that is underappreciated is where it's all gained at. Because when you get to the football game, you're not learning new shit. When you get to the football game, you're reacting to what you practiced all week long.
For sure. Yeah. And, you know, speaking of what you're looking for, Coach, everybody needs to go out there and take a look out and check out Arsenal Custom Apparel. You know, they're definitely out there doing their thing, putting out great merch. So check out Arsenal Custom Apparel, Rebel Promotions, Black Sevens, Janet's Catering, and, of course, DNASportsDenver.com. Book a session. Check us out on all social media platforms. Check out our YouTube. Check out everything. We're out there, man. Book your session today. DNASportsDenver.com.
Coach, it's about that time of the podcast where we're finishing up, man. We're done. I mean, it's been a great episode. If you didn't tune into this one, or you're just tuning in now, then I don't know, that's moot. If you didn't tune into the ones before this, excuse me, please go play catch up, like Relish. You know what I'm saying? We've got some great things that we talk about. We have great interviews with Brandon Bennett, Elias Zarate. We talk football. We talk life. We talk everything. There's no topic that we don't talk about. Make sure you share our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. Go on YouTube, subscribe. Go hit the website, push them numbers up. Push the listens up, man. We're getting to where we want to be, but we can be better with it. Coach, any shout outs before we leave?
Yeah, man. Shout out to the whole organization, the Wheat Ridge Vikings Youth Organization, man. We're out there. We're putting in that work. We're going to come out for Jeffco, and everybody in Jeffco, we're coming for you this year. You understand? We're out there. We're doing our things. Hey, and we have a horseshoe tournament next Saturday. Check us out. It's at 2 p.m. Edgewater Elementary is also known as Citizens Park. Come out. We have food, music, entertainment, BYOB. We got raffles going on. I'm going to go get a TV. We have several things going on, man. A lot of fun. Support your youth teams out there all over your neighborhoods.
Shout out Coach AJ, Coach Hannah, Coach Escobedo, Coach David Romero, Coach Frank Dardano,
Coach Tiff,
Rob Tiff, what up, boy? Come hit that mailbag with some great info. DNASportsDenver.com/ Ask DNA if you guys want to be a part of the conversation. Suggest topics, suggest what we're missing, suggest sporting events we should go check out. Maybe we're not covering a sport you want us to cover. Also, DNASportsDenver.com. Go book up a session. Let's get that work in. Let's make you a better athlete. Hell, if you just want to get some exercise in, man, we got resistance bands training. We got speed and agility training. We got stuff that'll get you lighter on your feet. Whatever you want to do, man. We appreciate y'all for supporting. For Coach Al, Coach Dom,
we're out.
Yo.